for the July 7th, 2022. Madam Chair, would you please do roll call?
Clay Thomas.
Here.
Don Christensen.
Here.
Rob Pierce.
Here.
Brad Stanley.
Here.
Kathy Julian.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. If we'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Large, ethics law announcement, please.
Board members are reminded that if with respect to any matter or any person coming before the board today, you've received a gift or a loan, you have a pecuniary interest, you have a commitment in a private capacity, such as a family, employment, business, or similar relationship, or you provided representation or counseling before an agency to a person or entity for compensation within the last year on a matter being considered, you must disclose that gift, loan, interest, commitment, or prior representation at the time the matter is being considered. And you must furthermore abstain from deliberation or voting on the matter if it is clear that the gift, loan, interest, commitment, or prior representation would materially affect the independence of judgment of a reasonable person. Board members are also reminded that under the Board of Adjustment rules, if you've had contact outside this meeting with any person interested in a matter coming before the board today, you should disclose the nature of that contact at this meeting.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lloyd, the appeal procedure, please.
Yeah, most decisions rendered by the Board of Adjustment are appealable to the Board of County Commissioners. If you disagree with the decision of the Board of Adjustment and you qualify as an aggrieved person or party, you may appeal in writing within 10 calendar days from the date that the decision being appealed is reduced to writing, filed with the Secretary of the Board of Adjustment, and mailed to the original applicant in the proceeding being appealed in accordance with Washoe County Code. Please call the planning staff immediately at 328-6100 for information on the appeal procedure and the application fee.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the agenda. However, action may not be taken on any matter raised during the public comment period until the matter is specifically listed on the agenda as an action item. Comments are to be made to the Board of Adjustment as a whole. Madam Secretaries, do we have any public comment at this time?
I have no public comment registered in chambers.
Thank you.
And I have no hands raised via Zoom.
Thank you. Next is the approval for the July 7th, 2022 agenda. Is there, first of all, any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, I will accept a motion.
I so move.
Mr.
Second.
Stanley?
This is Rob for the record, second it.
Mr. Pierce seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approves unanimously. Next is approval of the June 22nd, 2022 draft minutes for possible action on this. First of all, is there any issues or discussion on the minutes?
I have a query. Since I was not here for the meeting, should I be voting on these minutes?
This is Michael Large for the record from the District Attorney's Office. Just because you were not here at the meeting doesn't mean that you have to recuse or abstain from that vote. You can review the draft minutes and rely on any conversations that you had during this, when we bring it back to the board on this item. But as a matter of process, you don't need to abstain from that.
Thank you, Mr. Large. Is there any further discussion on the draft minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
This is Rob for the record. I move that we approve them as they stand.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item 8 on the agenda is planning items. Before we get to item 8A, I would just like to recognize our newest member to the Board of Adjustment. Kathy Julian is representing District 1. We'd like to welcome you aboard. Looking forward to working with you. With that done, we are now at 8A for possible action discussion to elect officials, chair, vice chair. At this point in time, Ms. Hill was the prior chair, and she is with us today in the audience. But now it creates an issue where we all have to move up or over one. So any discussion, any motion to position? Mr. Stanley?
If it's time to nominate chair and vice chair, I would like to nominate you, Clay, as chair and Rob as vice chair.
Thank you very much. Before we do that, Mr. Large, can those be combined, or do we have to vote separately on each one?
You can do a nomination together, but I would encourage you to vote separately on each item, on each.
All right, thank you. We have a motion for me, Clay Thomas, as the chair. Is there a second on that?
This is Rob for the record. I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. As for the second item, we have Mr. Pierce recommended for vice chair, and that again came through Mr. Stanley as the motion. I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that carries also. All right, Mr. Pierce, hang on. Your turn's coming. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the resolution of appreciation for Ms. Hill. Ms. Hill, can we have you come up to the podium, please?
The hot seat.
I would step down there, but to keep the mic on and to be heard at this moment, I will go ahead and do it from the chair's position. It's a resolution of appreciation of service for Christina Hill from 2014 to 2022. And I'll read the following. Whereas Christina Hill has, since her appointment to the Board of Adjustment on July 1, 2014, as a member representing Commission District 1, been an active and enthusiastic member of the board, serving the county and its citizens with dedication and distinction. Whereas Christina served as the chair of the Board of Adjustment since July 1, 2020. Whereas Christina was always succinct and could get right to the heart of the matters. Whereas Christina treated all her fellow board members and staff with the utmost respect. Whereas Christina possessed a tremendous depth of knowledge with her background in land use planning, permitting, and environmental analysis. Whereas Christina was friendly and approachable to the public. Whereas Christina had a good understanding and concern for the development within the Lake Tahoe Basin. Whereas Christina committed her time and energy to help make Washoe County a better place. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Washoe County Board of Adjustment does hereby commend Christina Hill for her extraordinary concern and devotion to the citizens of the Washoe County through her service on the Washoe County Board of Adjustment. And be it further resolved that the Washoe County Board of Adjustment will sorely miss the unique contributions of Christina Hill and extends to Christina its best wishes for a happy and prosperous future. It is adopted this 7th day of July, 2020. Thank you. I also would like to just interject and say from me, for as long as I have been on the board, you have been here with me, and it has been a pleasure to work with you and to take in your input and your insight on a lot of different matters that we faced. It helped me grow as an individual, so thank you very much for all you've done for me and for the Board of Adjustment.
Well, thank you very much. It was a great honor, and I really enjoyed being on the board. And I learned a lot, and I learned about the passion of the people from Washoe County. This place would be packed with people. And we had to listen to every single one of them, sometimes twice, and learned a lot of patience, and I learned a lot. And it was great working with you, Mr. Stanley, Christensen, Mr. Thomas, Rob Pierce, Trevor, and Michael Large. You guys have been great, and thank you so much for allowing me to serve Washoe County in this way.
Thank you. If you'll stay there, I'd like to present you with that.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
While everybody's moving down there, Michael Large, on behalf of the DA's office, Ms. Hill, I wanted to say specifically to you, no one took over the chairmanship during a harder time to take the chairmanship, which was the middle of COVID and working out the remote things, and you handled it like a champ. And from the district attorney's office, that was a difficult task to do, and you really handled it very, very well. And so that was my sincere thanks and appreciation. It was always been a pleasure working with you on.
Thank you.
everything.
I appreciate it. I won't miss having to drive over Mount Rose in a snowstorm, I'll tell you that.
If I could ask each of the board members, we'd like to take a group photo with the former
Yeah.
chair. If everybody can just wander on down. Thank you.
You want me to,
You're part and parcel of this thing now.
perfect, okay. Then we'll get one with everybody.
Oh, you Yeah.
We're not ready.
Welcome. We will love it.
Do you want to be in there, Trevor?
Come on, Trevor. Come on, Michael.
Perfect, yeah. Okay, you gotta get in just a little more. We're almost there. All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, we're great. Can I have this thing
Oh, great. Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck, you guys.
Great. Who's your smile?
Oh, thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you presenting that here.
Presenting, I don't know, but maybe I'll cry. Okay, thanks, you guys. Thank you. Okay, love you guys.
Oops, sorry.
We're good.
Okay, we are back. The next item on the agenda is, the first item I should say on this agenda is the administrative permit case number WAD-MIN 22-0013, the Keithley Garage. And I believe Mr. Markey is presenting for us.
All right. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Board. Good afternoon. I'm here to present administrative permit WADMIN 22-13 Keithley Garage. The parcel is located here at the intersection of Ohio Street and Fur Drive in the North Valleys. The APN is 080-385-02, and it's located within the North Valleys area plan, north of Lemon Drive and west of Matterhorn Boulevard. So the request is for an administrative permit for a detached accessory structure that is larger than the primary residence. The proposed structure is 2,400 square feet, and the primary residence is just over 1,000 square feet. The property's regulatory zone is low-density suburban, and detached accessory structures larger than the existing main dwelling are permitted through an administrative permit per Washoe County Code. As we can see here, this is the site plan. The new garage is going to go on kind of the northern end of the property. I've put an aerial photo next to it just to kind of give you some perspective as to the existing condition of the parcel. All right, where do I point this? It's just lagging? Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
You're done?
Zoom cut out on us.
Recording in progress.
It's because Mrs. Hill's no longer here. You jinxed us. Yeah.
This is our form of hazing our new planner.
Right, yeah, there we go. Cool. All right, here we go. So the parcel is just over 1 acre in size, and as I said before, has a regulatory zone of low-density suburban. LDS zoning does permit, again, a structure, detached accessory structure larger than the main dwelling. It does not permit any associated commercial use with these sort of structures. There is a separate process through the special use permitting process that does permit limited types of commercial uses in the LDS zone. But in this case, in this scenario, the administrative permit is only approving the building and no associated commercial use with it. The building does meet the setbacks that are required, which are 30 feet from the front and rear of the property lines and 12 feet on the sides. And then the applicant is proposing electricity but no plumbing for the structure. In the application, the applicant does state that the purpose of the garage is to store inoperable vehicles as well as other equipment that is currently located on the site in order to come into compliance with development code. So during the review period for the permit, we did receive a couple emails from neighboring property owners that were concerned that the proposed garage was not an adequate solution for the storage of these inoperable vehicles. I did submit some photos just to show you the current condition of the property. The property did have a past code violation, but it has since been closed. And there was a warning notice issued to the property owner back in 2020, but no action was taken beyond that. This is the reviewing agency matrix. We had most of the agencies that were submitted to did review it, and the health district as well as fire and protection district provided some conditions, which you can see in Exhibit A. We did send out public notice to 36 separate property owners within 500 feet of the subject property, and you can see the subject property there highlighted in yellow. We were able to make all 5 findings associated with this project. That is detailed more in pages 6 and 7 of the staff report. And planning staff recommends that after a thorough review and analysis of this administrative permit application, that the Board of Adjustment carefully consider all aspects of the administrative permit case number WAdmin 22-13 and the nature of the recommended conditions of approval and approve the requested administrative permit. Excuse me. And right here is a possible motion for approval. And that concludes my presentation for this administrative permit. I welcome any questions you all may have. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Mr. Stanley?
I have one. Brad Stanley for the record. Mitch, I heard you remark on usage, but could you repeat that section again for us?
Yeah.
Since there's some concern about that.
Yeah, so there was some concern shared about commercial usage on the property site. Through this administrative permit, this is only approving the structure. In terms of commercial usage in property that's zoned LDS, that type of usage is extremely limited and would have to go through a special use permit process. And really, in this case, using a garage as like a shop or something like that, that wouldn't be permitted even through the SUP process in an LDS zone. So,
Thank you.
sure.
Any further questions for staff? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Is the applicant present and wishing to speak on this matter?
Didn't plan on using it for commercial. All we want to do is.
If you'll come up to the podium and state your name for us, please, so we can get you on record.
I'm Mike Hoss. Not for commercial. We were gonna fix the vehicles that are in the yard and fix them up and get rid of them. That's what the plans are.
So no commercial use?
None. I don't want to deal with other people's problems.
Thank you. Well, I've got you at the podium. I do have one quick question for you. Can we pull up staff's site plan? Should look like, it should be this one if we have it, or?
Yeah.
The drawing right there, I'm just kind of curious, where is the actual driveway going to be to have access to that new garage?
There's a gate right there on Ohio, and there's a gate in the front. The driveway will be the whole yard.
Okay, so you're not,
We're not putting in another gate, no.
so will you be coming in through your front entrance?
No, through the side.
Through the side right there? Okay, that's what I was asking for clarification on. Thank you. Any other questions for this gentleman? Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Madam Secretaries, is there any public comment on this matter?
I have none registered in chambers.
And I have no hands raised on Zoom.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close public comment, bring it back to the board for discussion. Any discussion on this matter?
This is Rob for the record. I went out and I looked at the property, and it looks like a good project for the person's property. And I think it would possibly help the guy going down the road, so I'm all for it.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I would agree that it looks like a good project. I'm pleased to hear that there's a separate step for any potential commercial use, as well as the gentleman's statement that he wasn't too interested in commercial use. And so that makes me feel a lot better about the letter of concern that we'd received earlier. It also seems to kind of tie a bow around some earlier issues, and that's always good. So, sounds good.
Thank you. As a point of clarification, I know we opened public comment, and I know we have two letters that came in. Are either one of those individuals present in the audience? Okay, I just wanted to give them an opportunity if they wish to speak, but we will move on from that. With that, I will entertain a motion.
This is Rob for the record. I move that after given reasonable consideration and information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Board of Adjustments approve administrative permit case number WADMIN 22-0013 for the Russell Keithley and Michael Haas, with the conditions included in Exhibit A to this matter, having made all 5 findings in accordance with Washington County Development Code Section 110.808.25, consistency, improvement, site suitability, issuance not detrimental, and no effect on the military installation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Don, for the record, I second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next on the agenda is special use permit case number WSUP 22-0013 Cold Springs Communication Tower. And I believe Ms. Olander will be presenting for us today.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Board. I'm Julie Olander with Planning and Building. So this is a special use permit for the Cold Springs Emergency Tower. What they're proposing is a 2,400 square foot fenced enclosure with a 110 foot four-legged self-supported lattice tower and then a generator. And this is going to be part of the Nevada shared radio system. And the proposal is also asking to waive the landscaping parking requirements. The parcel that the proposed tower is going to be located on is out in the Cold Springs area, and it's highlighted in the blue. And here's a layout of it. I do apologize. It doesn't the vision. It's hard to transpose the map over, so I did make a smaller enclosure. I just want to go back. So the tower is going to be located sort of at the north end of the parcel. At the south end is a Washoe County reclamation plant. And you can probably see that better if I go back one more. You can see where Washoe County has the reclamation site at the southern end of the parcel, and then this is proposed at that north east sort of point, and you can see it again here a little bit better up in that corner part of the parcel. And then here's a little bit closed in of what's going to be inside that enclosure. And as I said, I do apologize, it's not easy to read. It's in your staff report, and I know that some of you you have all reviewed that. But if you have further questions about exactly the location and the items that are within the enclosure, the applicant is here to answer those questions. The request is for the tower. The facility is to upgrade the Nevada shared radio system, and it'll improve statewide emergency radio system. And the new tower will address significant gaps in this coverage. Also, the applicant has indicated that they're proposing to construct the tower in the next few months, and hopefully will be completed in 6 months. So this is just the layout of what's around the property. You can see to the west is property that's zoned OS, that's open space. It's owned by the federal government. To the north is GR, General Rural, and that's owned by the Woodland Village property owner. And then to the east is medium-density suburban, which is also part of the Woodland Village development. And then the property itself is PSP, Public Service, no, I've got that wrong. Semi-public facility. And then I have a star sort of where the tower is going to be located. The site is relatively flat, and also just as basically there's native vegetation on the property, which is basically sagebrush. There are no trees or anything of any height. The applicant indicates that they're going to move about 57 cubic yards of material for the tower and about 20 for the shelter area. Approximately 2,400 square feet of the site will be fenced with an 8-foot tall fence that will be topped with barbed wire, and then they'll have 2 8-foot swinging gates. The new tower and the generator will be located in the enclosure, and the enclosure will keep the equipment safe from the public and also from wildlife. The applicant is asking to waive the landscaping requirement and the parking. And as the Board of Adjustment, you have that ability to do according to Washoe County Code. The facility is unmanned, and there will be limited vehicles to the site. The applicant is proposing to grade the area where the vehicles would park when they do visit the site, and that would be within the enclosure area. And then the site is, I should have mentioned, I apologize, that the code requires 1 paved parking place for this type of facility, and that's what they're asking to waive, the 1 paved parking area. They're proposing just to grade it and put gravel down. On the landscaping, they're required to put 20% of the site that's developed needs to be landscaped. However, they're asking to waive that also. This is a remote location. They don't have water for irrigation. And as the applicant has pointed out, that by putting landscaping in, a lot of times that brings more attention to the site and makes it more obvious to the neighboring properties. And obviously the tower will be significant to the neighboring properties, but the landscaping sort of just is not going to be tall enough to shield a tower. Properties within 500 feet were noticed, and 34 notices were sent out to the property owners in that area. Various departments and agencies reviewed the application, and those agencies with conditions are included in the conditions of approval, and staff is able to make all the findings. And I offer you a possible motion. The applicant is here and available for questions. They do not have a presentation, but they're available for any questions.
Thank you. Ms. Olander, we still have you at the podium. I have a quick question for you. I noticed under conditions of approval that there was no construction times. I don't know if you're the best one to answer this, or maybe the applicant, but should that be added?
You know, because of the remoteness, I didn't add that. Typically, I do. And we can add it 7 to 7. It's not in a location that's going to be impacted by the neighbors. Maybe, can I have my I think they're saying they're about 2,500 feet from the neighbors. It's a distance of significant distance. There's not a lot of noise with this type of facility being constructed, it's not like hammering and building. Most of the equipment is brought in and just constructed on site. And I can have the applicant explain that further, but if you want me to add the 7 to 7, I can add that.
Thank you. I think that'll be a discussion amongst the board members, but yes, you are right. It's about 0.45 miles from the nearest residence,
Yeah.
so. Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Yes.
For Kathy Julian, for the record, just to clarify, that fence will have slatted and 75% opacity capacity.
Yes,
Thank
they're
you.
going to slat it. Yes.
Hi, Julie. Did you say that there was not currently water to the site?
Yeah, it's a remote area. There's, I believe there's water, obviously, there's water on the southern end for the reclamation plant, but
Right.
at that northern end, there really isn't any water. And it's a challenge with these towers, how do you shield them? I mean, typically we shield with landscaping, we use landscaping to shield so you can't see maybe a building or something like that, but this is going to be a tower, and that's just not anything we can shield.
Yeah.
And the other question is, should you stealth it? Should it have been a tree? Again, in that location, that almost brings more attention to the site, because a tree out there of that height would be very unusual.
Okay. And so you obviously knew where I was going with this. So I missed the zoning on the adjoining parcel at the northerly part there, because I think there was some mention of 130-some feet to the nearest residence or some number like that. So
You can see where the tower is in that far corner. And so the housing that's there is, and it's possible that the housing's going to, come up to the corner of that property.
Right.
There's, that's not, it could, develop that way. I think it's planned to be developed that way, to have the housing come up right up to this larger parcel. However, it's still in the far corner. And again, it's how do you shield these towers?
right. So and the distance between the proposed tower site and the end of the PSP zoning is about what?
I think it's 24. I'll let Stacy.
Stacy Huggins for the record. If I could just really quick, the distance to the edge of the MDS zoning is approximately 1,500 feet from the tower site.
1,500 feet.
Yes, 2,300 to the nearest existing residence that you see on this map, but 1,500 to the edge of the parcel that's zoned PSP.
Excellent, thank you. And it's just follow it. Did I hear that it was flat, pretty flat terrain up that piece?
Yes, the property is fairly flat, will not require a lot of grading for this project.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant present? Do they wish to present?
Stacy Huggins with Wood Rogers representing the applicant. We do not have a presentation, but again, here, if you have any questions, Melissa with Washoe County Information Services is here if you have any questions about the equipment or the actual facility and its long-range plan.
Okay, you just stay at the podium for just a minute. Are there any questions for this individual? Yes.
Yeah, Kathy Julian for the record. My query is on the ancillary generator, and will there be any noise related to this generator, and how long might you think it would run? I understand it's for backup. Could you elaborate on that? Thank you.
If it's okay, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa so she can answer your questions.
Hello, I'm Melissa Lonnie. I'm your Washoe County Regional Communications Coordinator. I do everything for public safety. To answer your question for the generator, it will be housed in the second room within that facility building. It's a 26 by 12 building. The second room will be where the generator is, so nobody should be able to hear it outside of those walls. They are concrete walls.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Don Christensen for the record. I have a question. Were the residents, realize they're some distance from the site, Were they noticed about this project?
Yeah, I'm Julie Olander for the record. Maybe I get that slide back up again.
I apologize, I missed it. Which one do you need?
It's towards the end of the presentation. Yeah, 500, we noticed with 500 feet from the site, and 34 property owners were noticed. I bring the slide up, maybe, I don't know. There we go. So you can see how the distance is, and so the property owners that are existing at those locations were all noticed. And I did not receive any questions about this application.
Thank you. Again, I have another question for the technical question.
Okay, well, so you're back.
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Melissa Lonnie.
Thank you. What's the distance, straight line distance from the California border?
From the California border. So it's, when you saw that land where it shows you the past general use, it's right over that border. So you're right along 395 highway going up, kind of heading towards Doyle. As for the exact distance, I don't have it. However, that hill would block any of the RF communications towards this way, towards the valley. So when we're talking about the public safety site, we are trying to cover anywhere that Peavine Mountain doesn't currently cover. And so you guys do realize that this is basically what we're proposing. These don't work with those big towers to communicate back and forth. So this is the lifeline to our fire and police and to emergency medical services. We decided not to put it up on the top of that mountain because we would be going into California. So as far as FCC coordination, we wanted to stay on this side of Nevada. We kept it lower below that mountain ridge line so it could stay into the Nevada side. However, this RF coverage does cover all of 395, Cold Springs, some of the back area of Rizzic, and even out to as far as Spanish Springs and Hungry Valley.
I'm concerned if there might not be a more appropriate site. Signal propagation is generally a 360-degree matter, and your coverage for this very important function might be optimized if you moved further south along the 395 corridor. Who did the studies on why it's at this location?
So we have a contractor, L3 Harris. They're doing all of the radio propagation studies, and that would be who originally put it, helped us identify a location. Originally, we had gone further down to go to a fire station that was more in the southern region, closer to 395. So Peavine covers that whole side of the highway. I want to call it the southern end of 395. However, there's a hill that covers Peavine Mountain to where you've got the water reclamation area, the high schools, that they're all blocked by that hill before Peavine. So the idea is to cover that particular area back. And so when we put it at the fire station in the more southern border, we were just overlapping coverage with what Peavine was already covering and not necessarily hitting towards those dry lakes and hitting towards the areas, in that particular area.
Okay, so it was Harris Electric that did the engineering study?
Not Harris Electric, so it's L3 Harris, and they are a radio manufacturer, just like Motorola.
Well, I'm quite familiar with Harris.
Okay.
So Washoe County is satisfied that this is, number one, necessary, and number two, is not objected to by anybody.
Not that we're aware of for objections. Do you have any?
Julie Olander with Planning and Building for the record. No, we received I received no emails and no phone calls on this location or any questions about this application.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you very much. Madam Secretaries, do we have any public comment?
I have no public comment in chambers.
And I have no hands raised via Zoom.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the board for discussion.
I think it's this is Rob for the record. I think it's a good use of the land, and I'm all for approving this.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Stanley?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Rob that it's a very important function. And oddly enough, from a previous life, I have some familiarity with L3 and then with Harris Company before a merger, I think. And as always, I'm always concerned about screening, kind of a broken record, actually, about screening even in remote areas, because remote areas here stay remote for about a second and a half. And this, however, seems to be largely very well placed and a quarter of a mile, if my math is close, away from the nearest. And it's set in such a way, it seemed, that there's an arc of lack of exposure that kind of goes up into the foothills and around. So even though I'm usually kind of picky about that, this seems to be okay from a non-screening standpoint to me. I would like to hear more about the L3 concern, though.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley. Are there any more comments on this? Is there any appetite for putting construction time limits on this, i.e. Work hours? Go ahead.
Kathy Julian for the record. Yes, I think putting construction time limits, hours, would be a good idea. And I do note that there will be some excavation, so there will be some dump trucks driving through the neighborhoods, or at least on the arteries, so that would be helpful to have the limits on the time.
Thank you. And Ms. Olander, will you please come back up to the podium? I would imagine then if we're going to put the limits on, we're going to do these 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., probably Monday through Saturday? Would that be?
Julie Olander for the record. Yes, it is up to your discretion what days you want to, and the time frame also.
Right. But I believe that is.
That's a standard.
Standard kind of
and it is in the
boilerplate
building.
language.
It is in the building code too. So we add it to our planning applications typically when it seems appropriate. And but however, it's also within the building requirements too.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, is it too late for me to ask the planner one additional follow-up question? Appropriate or
Please go
inappropriate?
ahead. You make it quick.
Quick question, okay. And I have no clue as a fine answer. Was the PSP property always the selected property for the bidders on the project, such as L3 Harris?
As far as I'm aware of, this was the application they submitted. They did not indicate that they had been looking at other properties. Is that what you're asking?
It is.
Yeah, I was not aware of any other properties. It sounds like, according to Melissa, that they did look at some other locations, but those were not part of the application in the sense of that they changed things around. So the application that was submitted was for this location.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We'll bring this back to the board again. Does anyone want to make, I will entertain a motion, and if so, if you make it, it would be your purview to add in the construction time limit requirements, or hours, I should say, of construction. All right, I'll make a motion. Let me just find it here. Give me 1 minute. Eight. There it is. Okay. I move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Board of Adjustment approve with conditions to include the standard Washoe County code as to hours of operation for construction. That we approve with conditions special use permit case number WSUP 22-0013 for Washoe County with the conditions including Exhibit A to this matter, having made all 5 findings in accordance with the Washoe County Code 110-810-30, that being consistency, improvement, site suitability, issuance not detrimental, and effects on a military installation. Before we take a second on that, Mr. Lloyd, would that cover it?
Yes, I believe that covers it.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a second.
I'm happy to second that motion.
Mr. Stanley seconds that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Next item on the agenda is administrative permit case number WADMIN 22-0014, Capperman Metal Building. And I believe we have Mr. Marquez as our presenter.
All right, Mitch Markey, planner for the record. I'm here to present to you administrative permit WADMIN 22-14, Capperman Metal Building. The property is located on the corner of East 5th Street and Yukon Drive in Sun Valley. The parcel number is 085-142-22, and again, it's located in the Sun Valley area plan, east of Sun Valley Boulevard and south of 7th Street. This particular request is for an administrative permit for a detached accessory structure larger than the primary residence. The proposed structure is 3,200 square feet, and the primary residence is 924 square feet. The property's regulatory zone is medium-density suburban, and again, detached accessory structures that are larger than the main dwelling are permitted through an administrative permit according to Washoe County Code. So you can see here is the site plan. The yellow highlighted building is the proposed structure. I want to pause here real quick. On the southern end, or the bottom of that building, you'll see a dash line that says old lot line. And then you'll see a thicker dash line a little bit farther below it that says new lot line. And so this particular parcel is also undergoing a boundary line adjustment. And as part of the condition from the engineering department, I believe it's condition 2C, they're requiring that the BLA is completed prior to construction of this project. The main reason for the BLA is because the building will not fit and meet the required setbacks without a boundary line adjustment. The owner does own both parcels, the one to the north and the one to the south there. It's the same property owner. So the parcel is 0.35 acres, and again, it has a regulatory zone of medium-density suburban. It's surrounded by parcels of a similar size and the same regulatory zone. The proposed project with the boundary line adjustment does meet the building setbacks of 20 feet front and rear and 8 feet on the sides. The building will have electricity but no plumbing, and the purpose of the building is to store equipment, machinery, and vehicles that are currently located on the lot. Here's just kind of a ground level view of what the existing lot looks like. So we sent it to 7 agencies for review. We had 4 responses and 2 did provide conditions, Truckee Meadows Fire Department, as well as engineering. Like I said, they provided mainly that condition 2C, that the BLA be completed prior to construction of the building. We did notice 69 separate property owners within 500 feet of the property. And we were able to meet all 5 findings, which are outlined in page 5 and 6 of the staff report. Staff does recommend, after reviewing this project, approval with the recommended conditions. And I have here a possible motion for approval. And with that, I turn it over to the board for any additional questions you might have. Thanks.
Thank you. I have one quick one. Under your conditions, where you spoke earlier about their potential of adjustment to the property boundary lines, is that within the conditions?
Yeah, so under condition 2C, I believe, under the engineering department, it's the last one there that they listed.
Thank you. All right.
Yep.
Are there any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Stanley?
Thank you. Mitch, thanks for going over the BLA process and how it flows.
Sure.
What will be the question after you explained it? What will be the sizes, and it's maybe just educational, probably is. What would be the sizes of it becomes 2 parcels then, is that correct?
No, there's currently one parcel to the south that is the same homeowner. So you're not splitting parcels. You're essentially increasing the acreage of the parcel to the north and decreasing the acreage of the parcel to the south.
Okay. So do you still have 1 parcel or 2 parcels?
1.
Okay.
So it's a boundary line adjustment and not a parcel split.
No,
So you're just
I'm
moving
kinda-
the south boundary.
I have some experience with BLAs, but, okay. And so it's still the 0.35 acres is what we're looking at?
So I didn't add, the 0.35 is what the existing acreage is. I didn't add in what the total acreage will be once they adjust the boundary. Yeah.
And the remaining piece, what roughly is the size of that? The little piece that's having a piece taken away?
I don't know off the top of my head. I could click on it and
Just kind of eyeball what it
GIS
looks
real
like,
quick.
maybe
And
0.1 or thereabouts.
I'd say, yeah, it's probably, I don't know, looking at that, I would want to say, yeah, probably about 0.2 acres or so, maybe 0.15 tops.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions for staff? Seeing none, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is the applicant present, and do they wish to present?
I do have the applicant and the representative on Zoom. They do not have a presentation but are available for questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board to the applicants? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and open it up to public comment. Madam Secretary, is there any public comment?
I have no public comment registered in chambers.
And no hands raised via Zoom.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the board for discussion. Is there any discussion on this matter? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
This is Rob. For the record, I'll make a motion. I move that after given reasonable consideration, information contained in staff report, and information received during the public hearings, the Board of Adjustments approve administrative permit case number WAD-MIN 22-0014 for Ken Kapperman, with the conditions included in Exhibit A to this matter, having made all 5 findings in accordance with Washington County Development Code Section 110.808.25. Consistency, improvement, site suitability, issuance not detrimental, and effects on military installation.
Thank you. Second? I will second that. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is special use permit case number WSUP 22-0014. Fader hearing. Ms. Olander, you're up on that.
Thank you, Chairman, Board. Julie Olander with Planning and Building. So before you have a special use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit that is 760 square feet at 505 East First Street And the existing residence on the property is 1,568 square feet. This property has a regulatory zoning of medium-density suburban, and a special use permit is required for a detached accessory structure per code. Here's the location on First East Street. And then you can see a little close-up, so the residence is will be to the east of where the house is proposed. Here's a visual of it. So where the trees are located, that's where the new detached accessory dwelling will be located, at that side of the fence, on the other side of the fence, excuse me. The new dwelling will include 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room, and parking is available on the parcel, and I have a map showing that in just a moment. And the dwelling will be connected to sewer and water. It'll be Washoe County Sewer and Tumwa Water. I do thank you for you that saw the error in my staff report, or in the conditions. I appreciate that. And then it'll be connected to the local power and gas service. The setbacks are MDS are 20 feet in the front and the rear and 8 on the sides, and the accessory dwelling will meet all those setbacks. So here's where, and I apologize, I cut off the top, but here's where the parking is located. You can see there's a parking space just north of the proposed new dwelling, and there's parking on the lot already existing to the left, or to the right of the house, and then also to the north, there's a 2-car garage there. So they have quite a bit of parking on the site. And here's the layout of the house. You can see it has 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, living room, and the bath area in between the 2 bedrooms. Parcels were noticed 500 feet from the site, and 67 notices were sent out. Different departments and agencies reviewed the application, and the ones with conditions were included in the conditions of approval, and staff is able to make the findings. I am proposing to amend condition 4. This is the new wording that the engineering department provided for me to add in and take out the Sun Valley GID. So the applicant will be required to provide a letter from Tumwa when they apply for the building permit. So I would ask you to have this possible motion with the amended condition 4 in it. And here's a possible motion for you to review. The applicant, I believe, is available online if you have any questions for him, and I'm available for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any are there any questions for staff? Yes, Ms. Julian.
Yes, just, is this on a slope? Because I noticed with the 22-foot height, it implies there's some sort of slope going on here?
Yes, if I can go back to that one picture, to the photograph. So you can see that there's a bit of slope there. It's more sloped off after the fence. It drops down a bit, but where the house is located, you can see I couldn't get a good shot of the house itself because there's a tree in front of it, and it was just a sort of an awkward shot. But anyway, I felt like this was the best visual of the property. So you can see there's a bit of a slope, but the property itself, it has that. The house has a bit of a slope. The house is being proposed to be constructed to accommodate that slope.
Thank you. Are there any more questions for staff? Thank you, Julie. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And you did say that the applicant is present, at least on Zoom. Do they have a presentation at all, or they wish to speak on this matter?
They're just available for questions. I indicated that he could either come in, and he opted out to be available on Zoom, and I said that would be fine. But he did not have a presentation.
Okay. I do have a question for him, if we can bring him up, please.
He's online.
Thank you. Sir, the question I have is that currently the parcel has a 1,568 residents on it, and now you want to build a 768 square foot residence, which will consist of 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a bathroom. Is this going to be used for commercial purposes? Or what is your intent by adding another residence to the existing property? If you can clarify that for us, please.
Sure. So my dad just turned 80 this year, and I'm sort of looking at housing him in the future potentially. So I wanted to have a space for him, his own place, basically.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that. Are there any additional questions for this gentleman? No. Seeing none, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Madam Secretary, we'll open it up for public comment. Is there any public comment?
I have no public comment in chambers.
And there are no hands raised via Zoom.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close public comment, bring it back to the board for discussion. Is there any discussion on this matter? Mr. Stanley?
Mr. Chair, it looks like to me not only a very clean, organized staff report, but a very good project, and I would certainly be in support of it.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make
Mr.
the motion.
Stanley.
For the record, Brad Stanley, I move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Board of Adjustment approve with condition special use permit case number WSUP 22-0014 for Ben Vader with the conditions included as Exhibit A to this matter, having made all 5 findings in accordance with Washoe County Code Section 110.810.30, including consistency, improvements, site suitability, issuance not detrimental, and no effect on a military installation.
Mr. Stanley, are you going to include within your motion the amended of condition 4 as recommended by staff?
Say it again, please.
I believe staff recommended a amendment to conditions number 4 under conditions. If I'm,
Yes.
Ms. Olander, can
Yes,
help me out
yes,
here?
that's correct. If you could amend condition 4, because condition 4 referred to the water connection to the Sun Valley GID, and we need to change it to Tumwa. So just amend your motion to include the amended condition 4.
All right. Again, Brad Stanley for the record. And why don't I just reread, since people are pointing, the possible motion. I move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Board of Adjustment approve with conditions special use permit case number WSUP 22-0014 for Ben Vader with the conditions as included Exhibit A and amended condition 4 to this matter, having made all 5 findings in accordance with Washoe County Code Section 110.810.30.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Rob for the record. I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next up on the agenda is item number 10, chair and board items. Number A is future agenda items. Does the board have any future agenda items they would like to see? Seeing none, we'll go on to item B, requests for information from staff. Does board members have anything that they would like in the future from staff? Again, thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item 11, Director and Legal Counsel items. Report on previous Board of Adjustment items. Mr. Lloyd.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The County Commission at a recent meeting heard the appeal to the Reno Tahoe Gateway grading project. The BCC approved the appeal, overturning the BOA's decision. That was the only BCC item I have to report on. We do want to bring your attention, though, to a new survey that is out in relation to the upcoming master plan update. and that can be found at www.envisionwashoe2040.org. So if you have the time, it takes about 5 minutes. Please go on the site and complete the survey, and let all your neighbors and friends know too. We're trying to get as much public input with this process as possible. Thank you.
Mr. Lloyd, could you repeat the email address one more time, please?
Absolutely, yeah. www.envisionwashoe2040, all one word, .org.
Thank you. And, I'm sorry, Mr. Stanley?
Chair, a couple of questions, if you don't mind, on some of the responses. On the approved appeal, were there additional conditions added at that, with that, on that appeal?
There was a condition put in there in regard to until the master plan amendment. It was essentially grading could not be pulled until the master plan amendment had been approved. If you'll remember, that was the project
I
where
do.
we had a zoning designation, but we didn't have a master plan amendment.
Right.
That is going, I believe the master plan amendment is next Tuesday. So the Board of County Commissioners will make a decision on the master plan amendment then.
And if I may, one more, and I think I may be going back one item. There was some question about changing code so it required a little less interpretation around physician, and would ask the inappropriate question of how long that might take to do and who might be responsible for that. Any update on that notion?
Well, I can pass the buck as good as the best person. Jen Gustafson is the legal counsel for the Planning Commission and for Planning and Building, and she is much smarter than I am. And so she is rewriting the code, and will be doing that in conjunction with the planning staff. And it's a very intricate process to redo code. There's a lot of things on our agenda. Every legal meeting that we have, there's a situation where this needs to be amended, this needs to be changing. It's a great amalgamation. We're doing our best to get things moving forward. My guess is probably within the next 6 months to a year.
Okay, but thank you, pass along, please, my personal thanks, and I think the thanks to the board that that particular contentious issue is being addressed.
We'll do our best.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Williams.
A query for Trevor Lloyd. Does the master plan envision Washoe, does that survey also cover the Tahoe Basin?
No, it really doesn't. Tahoe Basin is under a whole different whole different category of use. In fact, the area plan was just recently amended for the Tahoe Basin, the Incline Village, Crystal Bay. So that will not be included as part of the update to the master plan.
Any other questions? Legal and information and updates, Mr. Large.
Nothing from legal.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, is any public comment at this time?
I have no hands raised via Zoom.
And no public comment in chambers.
Thank you. And just before we adjourn, I just want to take a moment to thank the board members for the opportunity and the vote of confidence to be your chair. And I look forward to having my vice chair, Rob, working with me again and working with all the staff. Thank you very much for that.
And thank you for your vote of confidence on my behalf also.
Yes. With that, we are adjourned.
Nothing on hold.